Hello everyone, Bashar here. A few days ago I was invited to the Scholomance Invitational. It was my first time and I was very excited about it, and it turns out I was really lucky and I won all my matchups with a 2-0 score. I haven't lost a single game during the entire invitation, which was extremely surprising for everyone and myself included. I was pretty lucky, so I want to talk to you about my tournament experience. However, first I'd like to tell you about the tournament format before I go into the matchups and details on my decks, because it was a special format. So with the advent of Scholomance Academy, dual class cards like this one were added to the game. Let me find, this is better because Hunter and Demon Hunter colors are a bit similar, so I want to show you. So for example, this is a Druid Shaman card, so it counts as a Druid card and it counts as a Shaman card, both, and you can play them. However, in this tournament you were given a specific class combination and you can only play those. I'll get into the details a few minutes later. First of all, I want to talk to you about the invitation process. So Blizzard's Turkish representatives told me that I could or would be invited to this invitation if I so desire, and I said of course yes. I was very excited about it, and during the release day, that's the 6th of August if I recall correctly, they asked me to provide 3 classes that I would be willing to play with, and I said it's day of release. The meta is very unstable right now, and I would like a day to declare my classes so I can have a better grasp of the meta, blah blah. And they said everyone else in the tournament has already provided their classes, so you should too. And I said okay, that's fair. And so I said, in huge error I said Demon Hunter and Shaman. As you all well know, these are not really very good classes in the meta. And a few days passed and Blizzard said we would be assigning one class to you only, and you will be able to play that class only during the entirety of the tournament. So I end up with Hunter, as you can probably see here, and we were split into 10 teams. 20 influencers were split into 10 teams, and every team comprised of a dual class combination. So for example, I was in the Hunter Demon Hunter combination, and there was a Paladin Priest team, there was a Warrior Rogue team, there was a Warrior Paladin team, blah blah, so I was in the Hunter Demon Hunter team, and my teammate is an influencer from Thailand, was an influencer from Thailand, a nice guy called Nuj. So the tournament format is as follows. First of all, since we were the Hunter Demon Hunter team, we were only allowed to play Hunter Demon Hunter dual class cards. So I wasn't allowed Hunter Druid cards like these, and Nuj wasn't allowed to play Demon Hunter Warlock cards such as these. And that's a bit limiting. However, what's more limiting is actually you had to play 10 Scholomance Academy cards in your deck. Problem with that is some decks already run 10 or more Scholomance Academy cards, like Pure Paladin for example, but most decks do not really actually run 10 Scholomance Academy cards. That means you would have to sacrifice deck power in order to have a valid deck for the tournament. And since you're already losing your dual class cards that are not teamed up with you, like for example Adorable Infestation is a very good card, it's played in almost all Hunter decks right now. I lose Adorable Infestation, I lose Teacher's Pet, or the legendary Shando Wildclaw, I think that was the name. Let me see. Yeah, Shandaval Claw and Teacher's Pet. But I was allowed, for example, Ace Hunter Cream because it's a Hunter Demon Hunter legendary. So, and the matchups were declared a few days prior to the tournament. My first round opponent was Priest Warlocks Priest, Tyler OTD. My second opponent was Warrior Rogues Warrior, Plagiat. My third opponent was Druid Shamans Druid Elistraza, and my last opponent was Paladin Warriors Paladin Ddahioni. So the tournament structure was as follows: every game you win counts as 1 point for your team, and the only way for you to score an additional points are if you and your teammate both win 2-0, then you get 2 additional points. And I was actually pretty hopeful for that, because I mean, if you just do that once, I mean, it's a huge lead, right? For it's like a third player in your team that wins 2-0, which is awesome. So I tried to best foresee or predict what my opponents would play, and I tried to counter as best as I could. So my first opponent was Priest Warlock Priest, and for example, he wasn't allowed Wave of Apathy or something, and I thought he would either play Galakron Priest or Highlander Galakron Priest. Those are the most popular priest archetypes out there right now, and those decks are pretty slow and they don't have much of a board presence. So even though I actually wasn't thinking of playing it, I switched to Nagrand Slam, because against decks that do not have too much board presence, Nagrand Slam is extremely efficient. I mean, you get 12 damage to the face for 10 mana, or 9 maybe, or maybe at worst 6, but you get 4 3/5s on the board unless they die when attacking. And if your opponent's board is empty, you get 12 damage to the face and 4 3/5s. I mean, it can just finish the game on its own. Dragon Queen Elistraza is great because priest decks do not really put much of a pressure. They just counter whatever you're doing, and they finish you up with value that they get from their Galakron in the end. So I also put in some filler cards from Scholomance Academy in order to get the deck conditions satisfied. For example, Animated Broomstick is not really a card I would be playing. Neither is Demon Companion, Intrepid Initiate, Word, True Aim Crescent. Neither of these are really very good cards, but like I said, I had to play 10 Scholomance Academy cards, and they are okay. Cult Neophyte was a fine touch, and I also put in the Dragon package because, for example, Evasive Waving is very, very annoying against Priest. They cannot Shadow Word Death it, they cannot do anything with it. I mean, it can deal a lot of damage to the face, and of course, when you play the Dragon package, you can also include Stormhammer. I was a bit heavy on the weapons, but like I said, I had to fill in the 10 cards from Scholomance Academy. True Aim Crescent wasn't really very nice, and in the matchups, I think I had one game with Stormhammer and a lot of additional durability. I mean, I kept playing dragons and he kept hitting face, and in the end it was too much for him, and he just ran out of juice, and I just finished with Nagrand Slam. I think in the other game, I think there was some Dragon Queen Extras action, and I mean, in both games I just grinded them out. Cult Neophyte was helpful at some point, if I recall correctly, and with a little bit of early game pressure, I had to I forced him to play Raise Dead early, and that's 3 more damage face. Freeze early is very annoying. I mean, 3 mana Big Old Whelp, 4 mana Veranos, or 7 mana Dragon Queen Extras are very, very annoying stuff. So that was that. For the second round, I was playing warrior, rogues warrior, and I thought he would play the quasi Highlander warrior. By that I mean they run a few, 2 copies of a few cards, and other than that it's like a Highlander. They play the Corsair Cache and 2 weapons, Range Caliber or Reaper Sight, and maybe 1 or 2 more cards that run 2 copies of. And once they draw those cards, the deck turns into a Highlander deck. So thing is, warrior is heavily reliant on their weapons. So I removed a few cards and took in Ooze, and I took in Cobalt Sticky Finger, which worked wonders. I still kept the Nagrand Slam in because warriors do not have a huge board presence either. There's of course no Unleashed Hounds or something like that because, like I said, they do not swarm the board. And in the first game, he was playing, by the way, he was playing that Highlander, quasi Highlander warrior. And in the first game, he actually played a lot of stuff in the early game, and I made a very stupid mistake of letting my Brightwing die for nothing. I just lost my 3-2 for absolutely nothing. I mean, I could have kept it alive by losing nothing, and I still let it die. That was a very stupid mistake. I just realized it much later on, after a viewer told me. I mean, not even during the tournament. I realized it a few days later. So still, let me see. And he played a lot of cards in the early game, and he was looking very good. However, then he played Corsair Cache and played the Reaper Scythe, which was a 4-2 weapon after using it because of the Corsair Cache troubles, and I just stole it with Cobalt Sticky Finger, and that was a huge swing, right? Because he was expecting to deal 8 damage. He didn't get to do that, and I actually dealt 8 damage. And in the end, I think I finished off with Nagrand Slam again. Second game was a bit worse. He had quite a good opener. However, I played Freeze at some point, and then I had Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza gave me some dragon with a discover, and I was actually hopeful for a second Dragon Queen Alexstrasza because that would put me far ahead in the value game. And I actually got another Dragon Queen Alexstrasza from that discover, and I got the Mage Malygos at some point, discovered the Fireball from there, and I had the Spell Damage Dragon, so I actually did get to play Pyroblast for 4 mana. You know, Malygos' Fireball deals 8 damage, and I had 2 spell damage, Azure Explorer in front of me, and I actually did 10 damage face with 4 mana. And in the end, he was actually holding Bulwark of Azinoth, the weapon that prevents damage. Let me find it here. This one. And it actually had an additional durability because he drew it with Corsair Cache. Thing is, he played both of his Reaper Sights and then played Corsair Cache, so I knew he had Bulwark of Azinoth in hand. I actually was holding out an Ooze. However, he just kept doing other stuff to survive instead of trusting the Bulwark, and I actually had Acidic Swampooze in my hand, so things were a bit shaky, but in the end, because of playing 2 Dragon Queen Alexstrasas and doing a lot of face damage, I actually lowered them a bit, and in the end I had Zephrys, and I just got Fireball from Zephrys and finished them off, which was another 2-0 as well. For round 3, I played Ellie, and thing is, I was actually thinking she would be playing Gibberling because the Gibberling deck is actually quite solid for the format. I mean, she loses the Adorable Infestation. However, I mean, that deck runs around 10 Scholomance Academy cards, and it's not very bad. But then I had actually a Face Hunter deck prepared to beat that, and it was very good for that matchup. However, thing is, I thought she could be playing some sort of Malygos or exotic Mount Seller deck. I mean a Spell Druid deck per se, and my deck would definitely lose because all of my secrets. I mean, I had the secret package in my Face Hunter deck. What was Face Stalker and Explosive Trap and Snake Trap, etc. And those cards would be absolutely useless against Spell Druid. So I thought that the Highlander would perform decently against both of those decks, and I did a minor change again. I removed Nagrand Slam because since they play exotic monsters and a lot of spells in the same turn, they have a lot of board presence. So you do not really expect getting a lot of face damage from those Cleft Hooves. And those Cleft Hooves also die when they are attacking the Mount Seller. So I removed it, and I removed something cheap as well to get Fairy Dragon in for some face damage, and my huge tech card Ogremancer. As you know, like I said, they play a lot of spells in the same turn, and Ogremancer is quite annoying. And since whenever your opponent casts a spell, you get a 2/2 taunt out of it. It also defends itself. I mean, killing Ogremancer is hard for the Druid, for the Spell Druid. So, first game I had a pretty decent opener, I remember it well. I had Wolpertinger and I had Transfer Student, and the board was Pandaria, so the Transfer Student gave +1/+2 to one of the Wolpertingers, and I had a pretty decent board on turn 2 because I had 1 attack from Wolpertinger, 2 attack for the pumped Wolpertinger, and 2 attack from Transfer Student, so I had 5 attack on board by turn 2, and things were looking up for me. And then Ellie played Doomsayer, and I had nothing in my hand that could deal with it. I have a lot of cards in my deck that could deal with it, but I had nothing in hand. So Desert Spear would save me, Stormhammer would save me, Zephrys would save me, but like I said, a lot of the cards wouldn't really save me. Corrosive Breath would save me, blah blah, and I top decked Stormhammer there, and it was pretty downhill after that because I mean I didn't lose my board. I killed the Doomsayer, and then I played Big Old Whelp to get additional durability. So all the stuff, all the trades that she was doing was to save herself, and she couldn't really get any value. And in the end, thanks to Stormhammer, we managed to beat her. The second game was different. She started out quickly with a Lightning Bloom and Overgrowth on turn 2, and I said, oh, this is looking bad, but Cult Neophyte saved me. In the first game I had a very nice Cult Neophyte turn as well, where we countered dirt nicely, and in the second game it was much better. I just played Cult Neophyte when she was going up to 7 mana. I mean, you know, that turn where they play, the Spell Druids play the exotic Mount Seller and their 0 mana spells and get a gazillion 3-cost beasts on board, and then if they have Innervate, they play the Broomstick and they just clear your entire board. So by playing that Cult Neophyte on turn 7, we actually managed to delay her insane turn for I mean, we postponed it for a turn. That was not bad. I mean, then she did that. I mean, like 4 beasts in a single turn, then a Broomstick. It was very bad. We just lost the entire board. Then, however, I played Polkart at some point, and then I got the Ogremancer on board. And after I got the Ogremancer on board, I think she played the new Ysera that summons these dragons. And after that, since the deck runs a very limited amount of minions, she has to play spells. And as she kept playing spells, I get the 2/2 taunts that also defend the Ogremancer. And it was very weird. In the end, I think she played 3 overflows, 1 discovered from Nature Studies, and she got all of her dragons, and she actually was fatigued. I mean, the Ogre Mancer just kept giving me 2/2s, and I kept taking care of the dragons that got summoned from Ysera. She didn't get anything extremely crazy, I think. I mean, she didn't get anything with Rush or Taunt, if I recall correctly. She got some big minions, but I think I sold one of those with Zephrys. I mean, in the end, we were able to run her out of fuel, and she just got fatigued and died. So for the last matchup, I wasn't really very sure. I was expecting some sort of dual deck that would be, I mean, dual, Nosdormu, Tyrion, Turalyon, all the slow stuff. But she actually was running some sort of weird Libram deck. I mean, he kept bouncing Pamflingers by playing 0 mana Librams, blah blah, etc. So the matchup was actually heavily reliant on the first day of school, because I mean, if I get some damage in the early game, I generally am fast enough to kill him before he plays those Librams of Hope. I mean, that's total kill for me. I mean, I just die to that. I mean, 8 life and 8/8 taunt divine shield is too much. And pressure plates are freezing traps, get countered if he plays something early game. But surprisingly enough, he actually had both first day of schools at the start of the game right away. That was very problematic for me. I ran a single Unleash the Hounds, single copy of Unleash the Hounds, just in case he plays first day of school and some early game stuff, so I could counter it, because him having small minions on board counter both of my secrets, and I had the small minions package and kill command and Dragonbane as the finishes. Dragonbane is very powerful against Paladin, because I mean, True Silver Champion deals 4 damage, Hammer of Wrath deals 3 damage, Consecration deals 2 damage. I mean, nothing that they do kills Dragonbane on their own, and even if Dragonbane survives for a single turn, it is very very powerful. Getting 7 damage out of your hero power is pretty decent. So first game, he had a really good start with 2 first days of school. He actually got Imprisoned Gunarg on turn 1, which is the best 1-cost minion to play on turn 1, I think. That's this one. It's a 2/2 that is dormant for 2 turns, and then it gives you a Fire Vorax. It's extremely powerful. So then we had the depth charge, I think, that is the small Doomsayer, 1 mana, 0/5, and deals 5 damage to everything when you get the turn. So it was looking pretty bad. I think I drew Voracious Reader at some point and drew some additional cards, etc. And I had a kill command in hand at some point, and the audience, he played Wretched Tutor, and Wretched Tutor is the card that deals 2 damage to the entire board if you've played a spell. I mean, it's spell burst. So people thought that I should kill command that one, but I knew the longer the game went on, the less chance I would have because of those Librams. So I didn't actually use the kill command on the Wretched Tutor. I didn't have a huge board presence, and I actually was saving a beast in my hand, so I could get 5 damage out of kill command. And in the end, I just did kill command, blah blah blah, and he landed at 4 life. Thing is, his deck was very focused on drawing cards. He had Novice Engineer, he had Loot Order, he had Youthful Brewmaster to bounce the Novice Engineer back and get more draw out of it. He also had the Lion that gives you 2 1 health minions from your deck, Sahed's Pride or something like that. So I landed him at 4. He played a Novice Engineer, bounced it, played another, and by this time he actually is through about half of his deck, and he doesn't have a Libram. And he played some stuff, and my life total is very high. I mean, I will die in like maybe 4 turns or something like that. So, I mean, he either has to draw Libram or he will die in the end. And then I drew, the card I drew was the second Scavenger's Ingenuity, but the funny part is I actually had both of my Face Talkers and Wolpertingers at that point, so it actually did nothing. I drew the worst card in my deck, so I just said hero power go, you're down to 2 life. I mean, it was last turn. He played a few more cards. I mean, you might be thinking if he played some stuff, he wouldn't have enough mana for Libram. But thing is, I actually played Freezing Trap, so he bounced the Libram cheapening stuff. So his Libram actually was maybe like 3 mana at the end of the game, because he had the 4/6 taunt that reduced the cost by 2, and he had maybe both that cheapened the Librams by 1, and both of my freezing traps went on those as well. So like I said, the Librams were like maybe 5 to 6 mana cheaper. So he drew, and then he conceded. And at the end of the game, he had 11 cards in his deck. So he didn't find any Librams of Hope in 19 cards. However, his start was very, very lucky. So that was that. And the final game, he had two first day of schools again at the, right from the beginning. He had another depth charge again, and I allowed that depth charge to go off, and then I swarmed the board. I have a bit of so the lucky point for me was this. Turn 3, I had a tour guide in my hand, and I had a face talker in my hand, and I also drew a pressure plate at some point. So my deck had 3 secrets, 2 freezing traps and a pressure plate. And I think he coined out Goody 2 shields on turn 2, or maybe he played it on turn 3. So he had a Goody 2 shields in front of him. For 2 Divine Shield, Spellburst, get Divine Shield again. So I played my tour guide, I played my face talker, and I prayed that 2/3, 66% would work. And I played the hero power, and I actually got a freezing trap out of it. And then when he tried to attack, that good 2 shields was bounced back into his hand, never to be played again, as you might guess. And then I played some Dwarven Sharpshooter, and I just cleared out his board and swarmed the board entirely, like 7 minions or something like that. It was crazy. He was at like 20 life, and I had like 7 or 8, maybe 8 or 9 attack on board. And I was actually praying that he didn't have Consecration, but I think he didn't play Consecration in his deck, because I never got consecrated in both games. So he played the Libram that makes all of my minions 1 HP, but like I said, my board was pretty much trash. I mean, I maybe lost like 3 or 4 health to that card. It wasn't a very big deal. So he killed one of my minions, and then I went face for like 8 or 10 damage, and I drew an Eaglehorn Bow face. And at that point, I think his Libram, the life gaining Libram, was 8 mana or something like that, and he had 6 mana. I mean, he was 2 mana off, and then he played something else, and then I hit him again, and it was over there. So that's about it for my tournament adventures. Like I said, we had a clear 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 record. My partner did 5-5. He lost the first match 2-1. He won the second match 2-0, which awarded us 2 additional points, which was very nice. I think only 2 teams managed that. On round 2, Vid managed it, and on round 3, Trump and Kibler managed it, I think. So those 2 additional points were only awarded twice. Round 3 he lost 2-0, and round 4 he won 2-1. So he ended up with a score of 5-5. I ended up 8-0, and with our bonus 2 points we ended up with 15 points. The runners up were, I mean, the second, third and fourth ranks were all 12 points each. They got sorted with tiebreakers, and the first tiebreaker was actually who has the most 2-0 scores, which would rendered us the first position, even if we were tied in points, because we had 5 2-0s. So it was a clear win, but not from my point of view, because I kept wondering, how the hell am I beating these people like this? And like I said, I'm not gonna say there were a huge amount of misplays, but I did make a few mistakes, and the most horrible is, I think, that letting that 3-2 go for nothing. And I made another mistake where I actually played Lord Keeper Polkelt and Freeze, the legendary that cheapens up dragons, and I was actually hoping to draw Veranus because it's 6 mana, right? But thing is, it actually was 4 mana, and I drew Ogremancer there against Ellie. That happened. Of course, my plans were a bit screwed after that, but we managed to come back anyway, because Ogremancer is extremely powerful against that deck. Anyway, so that's about it. If you want to view the matches, they are available on my Turkish channel, because I was streaming in Turkish, and I broadcasted the matches like that. You can just check my Turkish channel to view the matches if you like. If you have any comments, questions, blah blah, whatever, you can just ask them in the comments, and I'll try to reply as best as I can. So it was a very, very pleasant and surprising experience for me. I hope you enjoyed it as well. See you, bye bye.